Have you ever been friends with or been close to or worked alongside of someone who tells stories that you just know are not true? I remember a few years ago I had a job where I worked with someone that he used to tell us these crazy stories, and my friend and I were thinking there's no way these stories are true. And one of the stories he told us was that he had gone swimming with these sharks, and that he'd saved somebody that was in danger amongst all these sharks. And my friend and I are thinking, like, there's no way this stuff's true. You could just tell that it was something that he was making up. And so one time we kind of played a little joke on the guy, and we had caught this crab and we threw it at him. And when I yelled for him to turn around, he saw the crab. He screamed in terror at this little crab that was coming at him. And we thought, okay, well, there's no way that if you really did swim with sharks and save people, you'd be afraid of something so small. And we have been spending some time lately on the parable of the Good Samaritan. And I just preached about it this past Sunday, but I did another video about the Good Samaritan a few weeks ago. And we've had some time to really think about and process this parable. And since it took so long for me to get the opportunity to actually preach on it, it's one that I've been thinking about for quite a while. And God's been really challenging me with the message in this story. And the reason I told that story at the beginning is because we've all met someone who claims to be something who obviously is not. And in this story of the Good Samaritan, Jesus is pointing out to us that just because we claim to be someone who loves God doesn't mean that we actually do. And what Jesus was emphasizing in the story of the Good Samaritan is that the way that we live our lives, the way that we love other people, the way that we respond with our money and our time and our reputation is proof of whether or not we love God. And so in the story, it's actually kind of interesting. People don't behave the way that you would expect them to based on their titles, except for a couple. So what I mean by that, in this story, the innkeeper behaves just like you'd expect an innkeeper to behave. He is paid to take care of somebody, so he does it because he's getting paid for it. The robbers behave like you would expect. They beat up this guy, they leave him half dead, they steal all his money, and they take off. But the Levite and the priest and the Samaritan, they all don't behave the way that you would expect them to based on their title. So the Levite and the priest are people who were supposed to be these professional Christians, but they don't prove their love for God by loving this person who was left half dead on the road. And the Samaritan is somebody that none of the Jews would have expected to do something that showed that he loved God, but he did. And what Jesus was pointing out in this story was that the way we live our lives proves whether or not we love God. And so the question I want to ask this week is, if someone accused you of being a Christian, would your life prove that to be the case? Or are we like the guy that I was talking about at the beginning of this short video, the person that says all of these things and makes all these claims, and it's pretty obvious that it's not true? And as Christians, if we're going to be people who say, yes, I follow Jesus, he's my Lord, it's not something that we should have to try to convince people of by saying, well, I believe this or I know that. It's something that if we're truly following Jesus, the way we live our lives are going to show that to other people.